The countdown.
10,
9,
8,
7,
6, 5,
4,
3, 2.
Time's up.
buried alive. Buried alive. Loki! Loki!
Can't touch this. Can't touch this.
Shut up and take my money.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes. Like a mutation.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
This is Sparta!
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Let's rock and roll tonight. 300, baby. Wow, what a great day to be a movie fan and talk movies and nerddom and stuff. Ironcaster can't be with us tonight, but man, I'm telling you what, Stone_Loki. I always get a laugh whenever I think about that, by the way. So he's with me. Here he is. Mr. Mischief himself, Stone_Loki. How are you, brother? What's going on?
Look at that smile. Look how happy he is with that little bit at the end of the intro. I could just see him backstage grinning from ear to ear. He's like, "This is Sparta.
This is Sparta." Oh, so cool. I look so ridiculous in the face swap, but hey, I'll take it every day, all day. So yeah, you guys might have to be subject to that from time to time, just because I couldn't believe that was available. There are very few face swaps. There's a lot of like GIFs and like photos that you can do face swaps on, but there wasn't a lot of videos that I saw. So yeah, we have an old school intro this week because the old man pulled the trigger. We're gonna make some moves in the old technology, so hopefully things will get a little bit better. Kind of is definitely better today than it's been. So there we go. We're going to rock and roll with 300 tonight. It's really, really cool that it's a 2006 movie, but it's a 25th anniversary of the graphic novel. So if you've never read the graphic novel, you're about ready to watch it because it's basically a storyboard. It's freaking amazing that they were able to pull this off. So some great folks are already here with us. Vince, my brother, great to see you here. Sean as well. Awesome. That's it. Roll on here. Oh, yes. Too soon. Never too soon, my friend. Never too soon. Let's do it. There he is, the Pops Mod himself. Oh, he's not only a member, but he's just running the show behind the scenes, taking care of us. Thank you so much, Chris Persia. Love you, brother. Take care. Angry Canadian. Awesome, man. Thanks so much. This is Sparta. Yes. So very, very cool. Very cool, everyone. Here, Zach's from the Great White North as well. Hey, brother. Oh, you're doing all right, my friend. Awesome. So, Pops. Crazy thought. Kamala Khanbit. What would happen if you had her face morph into Stacey Abrams? My brain will hurt is what will happen. Chris, you just keep making it more awkward and uncomfortable and terrible. And yeah. Anyway, Joker voice, brother. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Just woke up, off to work video tomorrow. Yeah, awesome, man. Listen, you gotta do your thing. Listen, man, if you guys are not checking out Joker's been rocking and rolling. I love his little weekly news updates as well, kind of like a little short version of 3 or 4 stories. Make sure you didn't miss anything. Pretty cool. So Claude as well, he's here. So awesome to you, my brother. So let's see, Cannoli Sasquatch. Oh, my friend, my brother, what's going on with you, my friend? Tonight we dine in it. Yes. So John is here. Awesome. Great to see so many great people here hanging out with us, Loki. We're doing this movie. So when's the first time you saw 300? not quite as old as some of the movies we've been doing recently. So this is one saw in theater.
So I saw this the day it came out in theaters with my dad. I dragged him along. He wasn't sure about this. He was like, I don't know, the way they did Alexander and the way they did this. I don't know if I want to go see this. And I said, look, Pops, this is Frank Miller. Frank Miller did that? I'm like, Frank Miller, here's the book. I said, if it's anything like the book, you're absolutely going to go crazy over it. And he looked at the book and he said, okay, I'm in. Let's go see it. So we went and saw it. And it was like they took Miller's graphic novel and said, all right, here's our storyboard for the entire movie. And they just took his graphic novel, took it apart, put it up on a wall and said, this is everything we're going to make the movie. This is the movie. And you can see in every scene, there's something from the graphic novel in it. There's something there from the guy's eyes in the darkness when they go and see the priest, to the dance at the beginning, to him fighting the wolf. Everything was storyboarded off the graphic novel. This is how you make a comic book movie. This is how you make a movie. Say whatever you want to about Zack Snyder, but when Zack Snyder worked on this stuff, it was like, this is how we're going to make it. And look what happened. Especially without any studio interference or any BS. He made the perfect adaptation to the graphic novel.
Well, so this is coming off the heels of Sin City. So Sin City had done well. So the studio was at least open to the idea. He did film like a little bit of some test footage because he wanted to do like the color saturation and all of that to unique the way he did. And he basically made the changes that he made. And this was kind of like it should really, in hindsight, is the first red flag of my issue with Zack Snyder, because some of the changes that he's made, it's quote, because it was cool. Like, he is a comic book nerd and he likes the stuff, but he has no problem changing something if he thinks it's going to be cool. Now, with 300, I think he hits the bullseye more times than he would have missed compared to Watchmen, which I think he misses a little bit more on. And then when you get to the more modern stuff where you get into like Man of Steel and things like that, I think then he's shooting all over the place. And I also don't know some of the politicking with the way the studio stopped backing him on some of those things. But let's face it, this is his first movie. I know it came out after his Dead movie, but he'd started working on this before that. So some of this stuff just took that long to get the wheels going. I also will say not everything is as good as a Frank Miller graphic novel to adapt. So, I get it. I understand there has to be some creative stuff on their side of things, but man, if you've never read Frank Miller's graphic novel, it's the 25th anniversary. As of now, someone in chat will probably correct me, particularly one of those mods that I know that are so awesome at this. I haven't seen a 25th anniversary announcement for 300, but it is the 25th anniversary. So I'm shocked there's not a special hardcover or something like that. But I could be wrong. I may have just missed it because Lord knows there's just so much going on. But yeah, no, I haven't read this in a minute. I'm looking to revisit this and crack this open, maybe do a video on just some of this. And it would be fun. I wish we had more time. Again, this is one of those reasons we're not allowed to have a ton of money, Loki, because we just have like these bankrolled like side by side of, the film and the graphic novel. So people can kind of be in awe of some of the shots. So yeah. So all right, you saw it in theaters. Obviously it knocked your socks off. It's inspired you this whole time. You talk a lot about your inspirations. I mean, let's face it, you've incorporated this into Valhalla. Like, it's inseparable.
Oh yeah. Shield wall, phalanx. It's all there. It's all there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really, really something special. Everybody came in here. You could see it with the chat. You guys were blowing up because you were in here throwing out your sound bites, throwing out your quotes and stuff like that, because there's just so much in here. And that history and the richness of, Leonidas, the person, and taking on Xerxes and all these different elements that actually was historical. And Miller talks a lot about being obsessed with some of that and to have it sort of translate, because I think if it's one of those things when I think about the genre of this film, I don't think people think of it as history as they should, because it really, really, I mean, there's a lot of creative liberties. I get it. But there's also a lot of stuff that's pretty good, pretty close, even if it's not, spot on with this story. Like, for instance, remember the scene where Xerxes is stepping down to meet Leonidas, and the slaves are all bending over so he doesn't walk on the ground. That dates that stuff that dates back to like ancient Egypt, and we know it happened. Whether or not it happened in that exact moment or not, I don't know that we know, but I can tell you this: it was powerful watching that scene. It was really powerful watching that scene. Wow.
And obviously they over exaggerate some stuff a bit. It wasn't just the Spartans. So they got about they estimate around 5,000 Athenians, the boy lovers, as the Spartans call them. And those were basically what they do is they'd have 3 lines of Spartans. So you've got a line of Spartans in front, in the middle, and behind, and then you've got all the Athenians behind them who are pushing forward. Okay. So it wasn't just 300 Spartans fighting off 100,000 Persian soldiers. You had the Athenians there too, but they had them in the perfect position. I used to have a picture of the town. I don't think it's on this computer that I'm on, but if you look at the pictures of the town, there's this big road going up from the town into the cliffs, which are the hot gates. That's what they talk about in the movie. And this is where they held them. When the way they did it was they would rotate in Spartans back and forth out of the lines so that some of them could rest, some of them could fight. But the Spartans were the front, they were the echelon, they were the tip of the spear. Everybody else was helping hold that line. And they would rotate Spartans in and out. So you had 300 Spartans that weren't always fighting constantly. They were rotating in and out. A lot of people go, they were up there for days. 3 people fighting for that long, do the math, yada, yada, yada. They had thousands of Athenians there to help back up those rows of Spartans.
And I will say that I think that it was a genius element of the story to have the opening sequence with Leonidas as a child and the wolf, and how he traps the wolf into the cave because of the way the space condenses and the wolf gets trapped, right? The metaphor is very spot on, but it's also a very brilliant approach to telling a story like this, because they're going to show you what's going to happen before you realize it, right? It's just a brilliant.
Well, he knows. Okay, so this was the Greek Alamo. For anybody that doesn't know that, this was the Greek Alamo. And he knew, number one, he wasn't going to have the support of the entire Spartan army because they were only allowed to go to war at a certain time. And he tried to explain this to the council. And in the movie, they do various things. You know, they find out that some of the council sold out, and they did. That's true. They killed one of the senators who, and when he fell, all that Persian gold with Xerxes' head on it. That happened. That isn't part of the movie. That isn't any of the BS. That actually happened. But they were using the laws, the Greek laws, to prevent them from going to war, so Xerxes could come in and take everything over. And they figured, well, if we bend the knee, then we'll get to be somebody after this. We'll still be here in some way, shape, or form. And if we bend the knee, we're dead. So he took his 300 Spartans, a bunch of Athenians, and they rode out for help. Think, the British are coming, except instead of that, it was the Persians. And while all the Greeks were fighting over who was going to do what and how they were going to handle this, the Spartans went out and a bunch of Athenians joined them. And the Athenians were pot makers, they were medical workers, they were all kinds of, they were just normal everyday people. And that's why Leonidas scolds them and he's like, what is your profession? Oh. Yep. Because we are all warriors. That is what we do. We fight. We go to war. You guys you go home and you do all this other stuff. We do nothing but go to war. So it was all a balance. He went out with 300 of his personal guard and never came back.
Yeah. And it's such a great juxtaposition of, trying to be, a freedom fighter and stand up for your, country and whatever, even though you're not trained on it, versus the professional warrior, right? I mean, we can all go, well, we'll raise up arms, we'll do what we can. But when you talk about someone who's like a professionally trained, military Navy SEAL or something like that, is a skill set that is so superior to someone who's more of like a novice and those kinds of things. I think that's it. It's just so great. So
No, it is.
Dick Ironside is here as well, by the way. I want to say hey to him. I guess I want to say hi to Bobby as well. But Bobby, we're gonna table that for me. We're gonna get to that. So Loki, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, you're absolutely correct. You know, you can go out to the range all you want to, and I'm a really good shot. Hell, I am a killer shot with a 30-30, but I don't go out every day to the range and practice every single day. I can sit down, I can get my wind going, I can start zeroing in on target, but I don't do that every single day. These guys do that, like what you're talking about. Navy SEALs go out and do that every day. Imagine going out and firing 1,000 rounds downrange every single day. We are nowhere near, no matter how good you are, no matter how good you think you are, you're not doing that. And that's what you have to do. It's all muscle memory. It's all getting a feel for it. You know where that bullet's going to go the second it leaves the chamber.
It's so like the professional athlete syndrome, right? It's the ones that are literally in their top physical physique. They're training 24/7. They're in a mindset, their diet, everything like that. And even if you used to be at this level, your body starts to break down and aging. You fall into the trap of life and that kind of thing. So it really does kind of create that. And the movie really does focus on this. Now, let's get to Bobby's comment because I know it. I got it. I got the snarky comments. I see them all the time. They have airbrushed abs. Do they, Bobby? Or were they subject to like this ridiculous training for weeks on end? So at least the main actors would have their abs. Loki, you want to take down the comments and the rumors about the airbrush abs?
Okay, so some of the guys that were there, some of the actors, some of the extras, yes, but the core, all the Spartans, the core members of I forget that one guy's name. He played David in Prometheus. Michael Fassbender, all of them, they had to go through hell.
Yeah.
I mean, they went through the training that these guys did almost their entire lives, and they said it was the hardest they've ever had to work in any film they've ever been in. So,
and Gerard Butler was hurt, like he got injured in a couple different ways. Like he, I think it was like a bicep tendon or something like that. He had a problem with one of his feet. It was very, very rigorous. They brought in a special program for those main actors. And again, I think you're right. I think there are some other cast members and extras and things like that. Yeah, there were some touch-ups and things like that.
And
however,
food, they were forced. They were on a very, very strict diet. This is the same shit that what's his name goes through when he plays Wolverine.
Hugh Jackman training. It's that crazy.
He's like fish and water,
like 500 calories a day and stuff.
It's nuts.
It's just, yeah, because Daniel Craig did it for that Bond scene, that famous Casino Royale scene where he comes standing up with those boy shorts or whatever, and he's like, "I'm not doing that crap again." He's like, "Oh no, we're not doing that anymore." Because he did it the first time. He's like, "Never again." So Dave Reardon, my brother from another mother. Hey, brother, how great that you can make it, man. Is it a sin that I'm technically working on an indie meme while listening to history lessons? Awesome. Listen, man. No, man, you do what you got to do. What do you know about the indie meme? Hit me up. I want to know. I want to see it. I want to go. Let's do it. Leonidas was 60. Yeah. So that was one of the big age changes. Obviously, they're trying to go for certain elements that are very Hollywood, right? Also, Leonidas also has the broom, right? Only in the movie, because that way the audience can keep track of which one is the star. In real life, they all have brooms. Like in real life, they all have brooms, but there are different levels of things like that. It was all kind of like oversimplified for the audience. But yeah, Leonidas was significantly younger in the film. And it's crazy to think about someone that's like 60 who is still a functional Spartan by our standards, because we barely can function in our 40s and 50s, let alone imagine something like that at 60. So yeah, doomed to repeat it. Yeah, great history quote. Yep, absolutely, my brother. And Odega, he coming in rocking, baby. All right, Doc. That's right. Let's bring it. Let's see. Okay, I think I got everybody caught up there. So the opening sequence, Loki, we can kind of at least we can kind of pull up maybe a couple of shots or something like that. It's basically the origin of Leonidas, going through what a Spartan child would kind of go through. You kind of get the idea of at age 7, this is what happens. They go into the wild. They end up he faces a wolf, those kinds of things. As you rewatched it, because I know you rewatch things as well as I do for this kind of prep, What are some of your takeaways in this opening sequence?
The training. Look at all the training. I mean, this is like, well, he's just a little kid. But yeah, he's a little kid that's been taken from his mother. You see it right there. They rip him out of the arms of his mother. They throw him out and they're like, go survive. Figure it out. You got to steal. You got to fight. You gotta kill. You might have to kill. And it all culminates in this, it'll show it in this scene with this wolf.
Yep. And again, very comic book. Sorry, like you said earlier about the eyes are exaggerated. So I'll say this about the film. As a film critic, right? There are things in this movie that are, I would say, some of the things that you would criticize in this movie is because they're adhering to what was done in the comic book.
Yes.
So it works better in the comic book than it does on film. But I still, I think that's where some of the critique comes from. The film is so much more superior because a lot of the negatives about it as a film is because of the media that they're adapting, which now they don't do, right? That's what you were saying. I think we're in the green room. We're talking about extensively how they just adapt stuff randomly. There's no source material. They abandon source material completely. And now it's just like we don't even, it doesn't even resemble where it started, where something like this just was so loyal and faithful to what was originally created. It's really amazing.
Even go to Zack Snyder's own work with like Batman versus Superman. Okay.
Yeah.
All that is Dark Knight. That's your Batman Dark Knight, Dark Knight Returns with his fight versus Superman. And look how shredded all of that entire story is. That entire story was shredded down to the basics of we're going to have Batman fight Superman like they did in Frank Miller's story. And that's all that's left. Everything else has been shredded. Everything else has been torn up and replaced. And you can't do that, especially when you have a fan base that's expecting something excellent like this. This is what I expected. This is why I was happy. The scene on the cliff when they're pushing people down off the cliff, it is exactly like the book. In every detail, it is exactly like the book. And that's what you want. That's what the people that are going to see this movie want to see. That they do not want to see women Spartans with danglers going out and kicking and pushing and screaming, "We are Sparta." They don't want to see that. They want to see exactly what the hell is in the book.
Yeah. So like I said, folks, if you get this graphic novel, you're going to be so how many specific scenes and frames are exactly replicated. It really is beautiful. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will just try to devote some time and put together, because it really doesn't matter if it's today or the end of the year, right? It's still the 25th anniversary of the book. So maybe I'll just put something together and kind of at least show some examples of this, that kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, keep going. So we get through this opening and you start to transition into now. And I will say this, I think it was really, really, again, it's hard to know how to praise this film because it's an adaptation of Miller's work, but the narrator being the character, the way he's handled is very, very interesting because unlike most movies where there's a narrator, I always felt like he was still vulnerable. Like, I always still felt that he could get killed. And that doesn't usually happen with the narrator. Usually with the narrator, you clearly know the narrator is a narrator. So therefore, you know nothing's going to happen to them, right? Or they would be the narrator.
Right.
I don't know about you, but I didn't really feel that. This movie's done so well. I get sucked up in it. And I never was going, oh, well, he's not actually going to die. I mean, he's the narrator. It never, ever popped in my mind. Ever once. Rewatching this again today, never popped in my head.
It's that Alamo. It's the thought of the Alamo. And if you know your history, these guys are walking into death. This is the one-way mission. They're not coming back. They're there for one purpose. And the Persians were supposed to have 100,000 soldiers leaving Persia to come to Greece. So that's close to 100,000. Now they say that that's not how many landed. Obviously, because of bad weather, death, whatever. They supposedly landed between 40 to 50,000 troops. That means half of his army was gone by the time he landed. But think about that for 1 minute. As many as 50,000 soldiers versus 300 Spartans and a couple of thousand Athenians that didn't fight for a living.
I think what's really fascinating too, because and there's a quick line early in the movie, folks. If you miss it, you're really gonna. I think you're just really going to miss out on something that's really, really subtle, and that is the fact that he tells you that Xerxes is going to succumb to hubris. He is not going to be able to let this go. This literally is the Moby Dick tale. He is obsessed with getting Leonidas. He has to do it now. He easily could have taken a pause, regrouped, sent out enough spies to survey the land, come up with a different strategy in those. Instead, it was, no, bring me the rhinos, bring me the elephants. I'm gonna keep trying to squeeze right down this cavern. I'm gonna overpower it with just muscle instead of using some brains, and it's just really great. ZBR popped in here. Sorry, the chat goes bonkers past here. ZBR, brother, hope you're doing all right, my friend. Great to see you. Have you with us as well. And Dean Krantz, brother. Mike, from those movies, it seems like it could be a Leni Riefenstahl would have made. Man, I haven't seen anything so this is like World War II German propaganda type filmmaking, that type of imagery. I think it's because of the way the saturation and stuff is, way some of the different, but I think that's the over dramatization of the patriotism in the state and stuff like that. And there is some overlap with maybe that type of propaganda, the emotional part, and that comes through Zach's filmmaking. I don't know. What do you think about that comment, Loki? It's an interesting one.
So when you look at the Spartans in this movie, you've got, Leonidas's wife, who is Leni Headley, right?
Yeah, Lena Headley. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she said something very telling at the beginning. Spartan women can say whatever they want to because we give birth to Spartan men, the only real men. And there's a lot of that in the movie. There's a lot of we're the Spartans. We are the bestest ever. And if you don't believe us, we will kick the living crap out of you until you fire enough arrows and send enough men to kill us all. But we're going to take a giant sizable chunk out of your army and, make you realize what for. I don't think it's any different than, like I said, the Alamo. You can get some really good. Alamo movies. Yeah, there's some stinkers, but there's also some really good ones that are more factual than other ones.
Right.
But you're always going to have that, I think. And I don't know if I'd not want it in this movie. I would rather them be more pro Sparta than, honestly, the way they treat soldiers now, the way they treat our heroes now. I'd much rather have what they did in this movie than have them treat people like, crap. And you do get some of that because you get it from their priests. Their priests tell them no war, can't go to war. Why? Because the priests have been paid off. The Senate, their own Senate won't let the army go to war because the priest said no. And Leonidas has to circumvent all of that. These people trying to prevent him from doing what he's about to do. This is their own people, mind you, selling them out for gold from Xerxes. And all of that actually happened. That's not something they just made up for the movie. So
it was very commonplace in ancient times. Like, this is not something that would have been unique to Spartan or their culture or their oracle and priesthood. It's just this was how things operated, right? So
I think it was a full-blown propaganda film. You wouldn't have that in there. Everybody would be united and working together, and everything would be hunky-dory. And
the comic book. Yeah, he blacks it out, right? So they don't in real life. I don't think they really fought naked. I don't think that was the norm back then. They don't wear much. I'm going to give you that. I'm not sure they would have custom made leather drawers the way they do in the film, but I can praise the film by yes. How do I feel about me, Spartan? Yeah, I know it's there. I don't even know last time if I even got through that movie. So Yeah, Dean's being a realist. The Spartans were known for their equipment. Men in helmets and shields are not ultra equipped. For their time, though, man, that bronze and the way they crafted those shields and stuff like that, it was truly spectacular. So, yeah, American entertainment didn't hate America. Yeah, well, American entertainment always kind of hated America, but now it's become a lot more mainstreamed, and the media just runs with just all sorts of crazy stuff and undermines things. So,
and the Spartans, to comment off of what Dean said, they weren't like armored from head to toe. These were not knights. They needed their mobility. Now, did they walk around with just like a leather strap over their chest? No, obviously not. But they didn't wear like armored leggings, and they had the Greek toga pants, and the what would you could classify almost as a skirt, but they didn't
actually. But
yeah, but they didn't have. They might have had a bronze cuirass, a chest plate.
Yeah,
but they didn't have they weren't head to toe armored. Right. So these weren't the shield. The shield was the big thing. The shield worked. And when he talks about the phalanx, that's why it worked, because they couldn't penetrate the phalanx. And it worked so well that the Romans used it. The Romans used it very effectively until people figured out, well, if I line up soldiers to your left and I line up soldiers to your right and I squeeze you, your line's going to fall apart, and where are you going to be now? If we can get in behind you, if we can get it around to the side of you,
from the
then
sides,
we can push you and crush your phalanx. But back then, they didn't really know a lot about that, and they had canyon walls to prevent that.
I will say I love the sequence that we're around in the film that you have pulled up there, and you can kind of advance a little bit as we start to learn more about Xerxes and his army, and the information's kind of play out here through some different images as the messenger arrives. And the film got some slack for being very, quote, Iraniaphobia. It's so stupid. Because if you don't know history, understands like the crazy warlord element of what the Persian Empire was, it's just completely silly. This sequence, though, where the film just kind of like totally turns into like this movie is going to be something special, is with the messenger. Obviously, this is the scene, obviously, with where you were quoting the queen, where she talks about, yeah, she can speak. She can speak because they give birth to the real men. But where, messenger, watch your tongue, and then how the sequence plays out. Because if you don't know anything and you go into this movie cold, that's how I saw it. I saw it with a bunch of normies. I was out of town on a business trip, and it was like one of those, well, let's go. I went. I knew, of course, you guys heard me. I feel like a broken record because all I do is talk about Frank Miller, it seems like. And so I knew what was happening. And everyone, when this scene happens, it's like a gasp. The normies were like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, yes, we're going to war, baby. We're going to war. Yeah. Dominic West plays a great, slimy, snarky kind of villain antagonist. I liked him in this movie. Doesn't get credit for that. Not that guy. I don't know that guy's name in real life.
This is one of those areas where he warned him. It's the don't kill the messenger thing, but he warned him. He said, it doesn't matter whether this message is from you or your king. Be careful what you say, because we will hold you accountable. Yes. So when he's like earth and water, oh, you rode all this way, and he knows, Leonidas knows you're bullshitting me. Don't tell me you came all this way for earth and water. What exactly does Xerxes want? Well, he wants you to bend the knee. He wants you to be submissive and bend the knee, and he'll let Sparta be Sparta, and he'll just focus on Greece, and you guys stay out of it. He's going to pay Leonidas to stay out of it. That's all he wants, is stay out of it. And Leonidas is going, well, after you're done with Greece, all you have to do is turn around and come here and either, tell me to bend the knee in front of you and kiss your ass, or you just steamroll my entire country, because I'm completely surrounded now. I don't have a choice. So the best thing for Sparta was to say no.
And Leonidas was watching, and there's a couple of you see this, right? You have it's briefly in the film, but it's he would have messengers that are letting him know. These people weren't like taking prisoners or working peacefully with groups when they conquered, so Dean's kind of elaborating on what we were talking earlier about the scale armor, bronze versus wicker. That is the truth, brother. Or not even when they would run up against armor that was like a metal of some kind or whatever, their skill set, their skilled labor at armor was so top notch. It was unbeatable at the time. It was incredible for the time.
So this thing he's got in his hand right here is a bag of skulls. That
Yes.
bag of skulls has crowns on it. This is from people that refused to do what he said, and people that made deals with him that he just steamrolled afterwards. It's not just the people that fought him and lost. This is anyone who has dealt with him, period. That's why he's like, send this message to Leonidas. And he didn't give this offer to Greece. He gave this offer to Leonidas, to the one thing he was worried about. If I can get past the Spartans, and if I can get the Spartans to stay out of the war, everything's gravy. It's a gravy train. I don't have to worry about the Athenians. I don't have to worry about any of this other stuff because we're going to steamroll them. If we have trouble in the ocean, we'll get them on land. And then once they're surrounded and they have nowhere to come back to, we can just take care of them. This was the wild card. Go ahead.
If we have anyone that shows up at a peace negotiation with a bag of heads, it's going to be a pretty short negotiation, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's pretty telling whenever that's how you approach things back then. It was pretty telling. The warlords and the authoritarian mindsets usually came front and center. So, and Scott Westbrook made it. Hey, brother, hope you're doing all right, my friend. So, okay, so move a little bit faster because now we kind of, we got to move a little bit into, So this is the great moments here with him and the wife. And the queen really is, co-leadership of Spartan infrastructure because she's really attuned at what's going on compared to the stereotypical women of that age. She's really, really done well. And then
I'm going to roll this forward just to like a minute.
Yeah.
If I can, if it'll let me. He's determined. He's absolutely positive.
Oh, he knows what he's doing because she gives him the head nod briefly right before that shot, right? So right before he pulls the sword and swings, she gives him the nod like, you have to. You have to. They're not going to stop at our gates. They're not going to, work peacefully with us. We know exactly who these animals are. We know who these barbarians are. So
And just to show something here, you can see as you slow-mo this blade is off to the right. So it's not lined up right in the middle of him. It's not going through him. The blade moves to the right. You get some blood squirt here. I'm sure that's like post special effects, whatever. Maybe they had a little blood squirt bag or something they hit, but he's not being cut. And then they throw him into this pit and you're like, well, if they're not going to do that, why did they do this? Because they're using conventional effects as much as possible, as well as new and advanced effects, special effects for when they're like diving down into this hole. That's filmmaking. You know what? I'm not just gonna throw it all at the FX department and say it's all your job to do this. I'm gonna do as much as I can in the real world, and then I'm gonna have them fill in the blanks. That's creative filmmaking.
Yep. Okay, Zax, listen. You can't get called a peaceful dictator when you destroy all the temples and you execute all of the ones that could lead a secession against your rule and then rule peacefully. So I can't quite get with you on that history. And maybe I'm missing pieces of his history, but from what I understand, what he did to Babylon and some of the other areas, I don't consider that he worked peacefully once all of the opposition was out of the way. It's like, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, the women of Sparta were the richest women at the time. Yeah, well, they were treated in a special class. Like it was definitely a different way of approach compared to the submissive class in most of the other ancient cultures.
Men could not own businesses. in Sparta. Men could not own businesses. All the women owned all the businesses. So if you had a trade business or a fruit stand or a metalworking, whatever, the woman owned it. Men may have worked at it, but the women owned it. The women owned everything.
Dean's talking about how they would have two kings, one that rules when the other one was away at war. Yeah. And then plenty of water and earth down there. Yeah, that's kind of good. And Dean, I think this is another reason why when the Romans set up their republic, it was because they didn't want to have the warring king come home to a king that was so strong and powerful. Then you would have that type of fighting lead to more bloodletting, more bloodshed, one king versus the other king, and that kind of stuff. So that's my thoughts. So you would take Xerxes over the Khans. Okay, well, that's different. That's not fair. I mean, the Genghis Khans are, that's exponentially worse than this era. That's also like a law of numbers. We're talking about, 100,000 people they would bring to a battle. So it's a different perspective. So Helena Troy was a Spartan. Yeah. The most beautiful woman of her time. I would love to know what she actually looked like. It's not just what he did to his neighbors. Xerxes also brought brutality to his own people. Well, yeah, because he just had to, it was always about eliminating anyone that could be a threat. This is very similar. If you think of Xerxes, it's kind of the way the Soviet Russian leadership approached everything. You get neighbors to narc on neighbors for a gold coin, and you would never really have anybody who could ever rise up against you.
Well, also don't forget the delusions of godhood and the fact that he proclaimed himself a living god, which, I mean, the Egyptians did, but just look at some of the stuff the Egyptians did to people. Think about liquid bread there for a minute and who they gave that to and who built most of their stuff and how many people died doing that. I mean, it's delusions of godhood is a great thing to have in a leader,
especially when they would have access to like gunpowder. Gunpowder is alluded to briefly, and that's that you end up getting into areas of Asia and India where certain technologies and things were in a different timeline than others. It's where some of this stuff would come into play. So just a great scene, just an absolutely great transitional scene. Quite the metaphor of throwing the villain down the hole, but also like the metaphor of you're going to the bottomless pit too, because you can't turn back, right? So the queen and the king have a lot of time. They have some sexy time. And then we kind of move into got to go off to war. After the brief diatribe with the council, it's like, no, you can't do this. He's like, I'm just going for a stroll. The Arcadians are they call them Arcadians in the movie. But yeah, so it's the other Greeks. So
do you want
this
me
is
to
the
play
famous
this?
scene. Yeah, let's play what we can. We might have to kind of do it in pieces so we don't get jumped, but let's do what we can.
Yeah. What is your profession? I'm a potter.
I'm a potter. I'm a bread maker. I'm a candlestick maker.
And you, Arcadian, what is your profession?
Potter. Bread maker.
I'm a content creator.
Content creator.
And you?
Oh, you just gave me an idea.
Oh, I bet. Every time I see this scene, I always think to myself, this is why I was frustrated. There was no face swaps for this. I couldn't pull this scene.
Oh, that's crazy.
I wanted to pull this scene and face swap all those 3 or 4 people. That would be so much fun to just have a bunch of content creator faces in there and then just
Spartans! What is your profession?
It doesn't get any better than that. That is it. Okay, so in the thumbnail, and you've seen it on Twitter, because the question really is, the film is good. I'm not trying to bash on the film, guys, so please don't be hating on me. I'm just trying to say, I think the legacy of the film, the legacy of patriotism, being a warrior, dying for a cause, being selfless, toxic men, just bloodletting and war, all of those things have a better legacy in some ways than the film does, right? I mean, I just think this has transcended the film itself.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right. If you weren't, I wouldn't still be using it. No,
Yeah.
this is Valhalla. Every morning this is why I get fired up. This and a Dega Outlaw. Because the Dega Outlaw instigated a lot of fire stuff and burning it down in the morning on Mornings of Mischief. So a lot of the Valhalla stuff, it's all a Dega's fault. But this too. I mean,
All right,
this is
I have to interject 1 second. Okay, folks, let's see the chat here, guys. Hashtag Zach's loves Xerxes. He's got some Xerxes love going on or something there. We just make
scissor
sure
me, Xerxes, scissor.
Xerxes scissoring. I don't know what's happening down there, but Zach, we're just busting chops. You know that, man. So go ahead, buddy. I'm sorry. It's just this is so beautiful, this scene, and then again, this color saturation of the palette and the way it brings the comic life. Just it's so good. It's so good. And my son, because my son's in the military, and he just totally kind of like he's even for his age, he's very much into what you said earlier, right? The pretender versus the trained.
Yeah.
Or the good intentioned, even forget about pretender. That's I was actually a poor choice of words. Scratch that. The good intended and the one that wants to do it, but reality is you're looking at the Navy SEALs. You're looking at the special ops. You're not looking at I'm good, I'm going to protect my family, I got a spear or whatever. And I'm not saying there's not a place for them, because there is, but man, this is so
not in that, and that is exactly what you're going to hear. What you're going to hear him say later when he's talking to the monster, Nimpi, the hunchback. Good intentions gets them killed.
Yeah.
So, you want to have all the good intentions in the world, but good intentions will get somebody killed. And they shy away from showing the Arcadians, Athenians, whatever you want to call them, backing up the Spartans. But that's exactly what they did. And that's where it gets into more the realm of this is theater, not what actually happened, just like with the Alamo.
Chat's on fire. I'm sorry. You guys are freaking great. You guys are making me awesome. That's our pizza. Holy crap. It's freaking great, guys. You guys are killing me. Dean's like, it wasn't until the Roman Republic the nation became rich enough to support a standing army without slavery. Yeah. I mean, listen, they knew what they're doing, man. It's crazy what they were able to manage. And Persia did outlast the Greeks and did not fall until the rise of the Ottoman Empire. Well, it's just, there's a lot of reasons for that. So when you claim God, you have to make sure there's nobody that can take you down. Yeah. So I got everything on fire. So I think it's info for Darius. Okay.
Right. I think Adega said, "You have not seen me on fire. That day will come, and on that day the earth will tremble, and all will know my wrath." And Chris Persia is right. It's more like it's going to spin backwards and undo that day, and then let history play itself out without that happening.
So I will say, seeing this in the theater, I actually felt almost like chills then. And then I have to be honest, it wasn't until your show that I thought, holy crap, someone has really, really tapped into that moment. The moment. So again, shows
it's a lot of it's the meaning behind that.
Oh no. It's what it means. What it means. And it's also like the respect that people have. This movie's carried on too because of the respect people have for the military and the soldiers and the selflessness to put themselves in harm's way and some of the elite elements of the American military and things like that. And this film has that moment, and you literally can feel it. I would love to see this in a 4K theater experience. Don't know what will happen. Maybe in a couple of years for its anniversary, but I would love to see that. Get that.
Oh, what do you think's going to be the first thing I watch when we get Casa del Loki all set up and the new theater room is installed? Because that is something I'm working on.
Yeah, I would assume there's like 10 movies, and this is definitely on the top of that list. Yeah. There's like 10 for sure. And most of them are by John Carpenter, probably. However.
Yes.
I have my Loki puzzle solved for the most part, so you guys understand. And by the way, for those of you who haven't looked at the schedule on Talk Hard, next week is like my 1 year anniversary as the Pops, the dedicated Pops thing we'll do next week. But then we're going to be coming up on They Live, another John Carpenter film, which we thought we better do this now before they take this movie away from us.
Speaking of, remind me to remind you about the 21st when we get done with this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. That'll be
Something else come
interesting.
up. All right. Well, hey, listen, things happen. So, all right. All right. Let's move forward a little bit here because we start to get into really a lot of like the development of the journey, right? Because we're going to have the first thing we do is we explain to the audience like what Xerxes and the Persians are capable of by showing them a village that's been laid waste. The only one that survived is this small child who basically wasn't abducted at the time. And then you see them all basically pinned up on a tree. And then, of course, they think there's a positive element here because they see the winds and the hurricanes and the seas just crushing ships. So they kind of feel as though, there's a horrific scene of the trees. Oh, wait, so the Persian ships are being destroyed. Whatever, we got a chance. It's like a law of numbers thing, right? And they're cheering or whatever. And there's a great shot of Leonidas who's like not celebrating. Look, everyone's standing there. You go. Look at that. Oh, man. Talk about like stereotypical ancient leader. Man, it's so good.
He knows. They're all cheering but he's like, no, there's so many that there's no way I'm walking away from this. They all think they are. At the time, they're cheering. They're not deep thinking like he is at the moment where he's going, no, we're screwed. Even if half the ships are destroyed, even if half of his army is taken out in this moment before the battle starts, we're screwed.
For everybody who wants to know what the definition of stoic is, it's the definition of stoic right there. So, all right, let's move on. We have a lot of film to kind of touch on a little bit in only like 30 more minutes. So let's jump ahead quite a bit because we basically just get a lot of the brotherly bonding, a little more of the backstory. So we have more of like investment in some of the different characters. This is obviously Michael Fassbender's first big film, a big budget type film. He was blown away by this, by the way. And reality was his stipend to live in an apartment or whatever he wanted to do during production, he just pocketed and just lived in the trailer because the trailer was so luxurious. So it's kind of a famous little backstory to the Fassbender acting career. Then you have your shot of the entire army, the tens and tens of thousands already lining up. We jump forward a little further. Let's see where we're at. Oh, it's our first phase. Yeah. So the Arcadians are there. They're they have no idea what they've gotten themselves into. We get like the snarky, slimy. Talk about a face swap. I have no idea why we don't have this video so we could put Mike's face in there. That's what I thought of when I watched that.
And this looks very, very. All of this looks so much like the novel. The guy on the throne being led up here, the wall that they're building of bodies, and him realizing, oh no.
Yeah, that's
they're
the shot
building
right there.
A wall of bodies.
So all of the spies and all the people the Spartans have gotten their hands on, they're basically the mortar in the wall. And this guy's just talking smack. He's talking like he's going to be somebody or do something about it or whatever, not realizing what he's in for. And then, of course, it's very graphic novel because you have this great scene and it's just like, nope. And that's the famous image with the leaping scene. Of course, then the arm comes off and he's just standing there. Yeah. Yeah, it's really, really something special. Love it. Just beautiful. Gosh, she looks like Tarzan, this scene. Yeah. Hunchback. So the Hunchback story is very interesting because they would not allow for a handicapped person, someone that has the type of physical ailments and deformities to survive. So his name is Ephialtes, and the family basically fled so he wouldn't be killed. So now he's like, listen, my family's wrong. I'm patriotic. I want to do my part. I can do this. I can be there for you, Leonidas. And he was trying to explain the shield, which is, again, exposition for the audience, right? The audience or the book reader can understand everything. They can know what's going on. They can know why why it's important, right? The audience may not know, why do we have the shield a certain way? Why does it protect neck to thigh? So again, this is great writing. It's completely a lost art on modern cinema and modern entertainment, right, Loki? Because it's completely gone that we could have this kind of, this is the exposition done properly.
Oh yeah, you would have had an exclamation with women warriors in the first 5 minutes of the film going,
The Spartan army is displayed side to side and shield to shield because of this and this. We're explaining this all to you now so you understand later in the film.
when all they had to do is a scene like this and it all flows and it doesn't take you out of the movie.
Do you think that they are delusional enough to believe that the Paradise Island Game of Thrones chick movie they're going to do is going to be like this? Like,
Yeah,
because it's so
I did.
stupid of a concept that it's just like, you guys do realize that it's 2023. Like, no one believes this is going to be a good idea. There's no one.
No.
What? Let's see. What's it? What does Mel tell us the waitresses? Stoic. Yes. Marcus Aurelius. Okay. All right.
We right as of now, we are is a thorn in the side of them constantly patting each other on the back, going, "Oh my God, it's brilliant. You're so smart, sweetie. You wrote it up so well." We're the only thing that's like stinging them in the side. That's going, yeah, no, not really.
Yeah,
oh, well, then you're an
She-Hulk.
est and an ob. You're toxic masculinity. This was absolutely the bee's knees. No, it wasn't. It was absolute
The only
crap.
time
The
he
lady
uses
who
the
wrote
phrase
it's
bee's
crap.
knees, by the way. My bad. Hashtag bee's knees, Chad. Hashtag bee's knees. Well, and it's also, by the way, it's my take on Fablemans. Fablemans is such a disappointing, generic film. It's Spielberg by Spielberg for Spielberg, and people for Spielberg's friends to tell him how great he is. And I'm like, it is such a generic film. It's not that it's bad. It's just so safe and bland and unentertaining. I have zero recommendation of that movie. I have no idea. I don't have time to do some of these video ideas I have. There are literally like 5 Indian films from last year that are better than that movie. I can list you 5. That's how bad our American cinema is right now. There are 5 Indian films that are better than at least 2 or 3 or 4 of those Oscar films. It's really, really a tragic place that we're in right now. So, and by the way, I have no idea what's happening here with Vince. I guess he's catching on to my TBT Throwback Thursday recommendations, which, yes, last week was The Sting. And talk about a film that doesn't get any love. If you never watched this Sting, you want to know what that piece of history was like. That movie was like, I was blown away on my rewatch. Like, I was really like, hadn't watched it in so long. I was like, man, that's really, really good. Wow. All right. Sorry. Let's jump ahead. I'm eating up I'm breaking my own rules, eating up time, jabbering on about nothing. So Hunchback story. Hunchback. Yeah. Hunchback basically is told no, he can't set his pride aside. The war has to continue. So the first battle is what Loki was talking about earlier. It's the push. So you basically have these incredible visuals just done exceedingly well of, they're just going to dig in, quite literally dig in. And the other group can only exert so much force, and they know it because there's walls on every side. They're lined up with their rows. They know exactly what they're able to do. And they basically, it's truly a great moment. Let's just play just a moment of it. I know we had to battle the copyright nonsense, but we can just see talking the smack, blowing the horns. It's like, bring it. Oh, that's right. Throw down your weapons. And it's like, you come get them. So good. So good. Watch this. Look at that. Because they know exactly how far back they're going to get pushed. They know exactly what they can and cannot endure. They understand exactly what's going to happen. I loved it. I thought this was, there's a couple quick shots of their feet. You know exactly how this is playing out. One person gets a sword through and cuts one of them on the arm. And I love it. It's like, they're so good at what they do. It takes him like a split second for him to just tilt. He doesn't even lower. He tilts the shield and then stabs the guy with the spear, and the shield and the spear's brought back into line. There's no break of the line. It's just literally like a split second. Like, how dare you cut me, you plebe of a human. Like, holy cow, you can't hold your own against us.
Now they're walking over. They're like walking over the dead here. So there's like this great. Hold on real quick. There's this great shot. Yeah, they're walking. There it is. Okay, so they're walking over the dead, and you've got your stragglers back here that are just like, nope, die. We're gonna get you as we're
They're
walking along here.
making sure everyone that's there is dead. Yeah.
But then Leonidas breaks his own rule, and this is where it goes tits up, and the historians start bad mouthing everything. And the war professors, Leonidas breaks the line. He breaks out of the line. So he leaves his formation and starts just riddling people with there you go. Right there. Leonidas is like, you know what? I don't need my line to fight with me. I'm gonna go up here and do my own thing. That didn't happen.
Yeah, this is very Hollywood. Very Hollywood. Very dangerous. It would not work. You would not want to do this. The law of numbers are against you. People are not going to line up one at a time to attack you like this. So therefore, this would not be how they would have operated. But it's the Hollywood moment. It's like we give you a little bit of history, but then we have to have these Hollywood moments. And it literally is like, Spartan superhero stuff, like one person at a time, just cutting them all down. A little bit of that in the background, implying that many of them are doing it before we get to this moment, which is by far the moment, the defining moment of the movie, the defining moment in history.
The book,
it is
the novel,
however you want to look at it, my friends. This is the money right there. That is that. If you could turn to the graphic novel, you would find that image right there. That's is incredible.
Yeah, open it up, and on the inside of the hardcover, that's what you see. This is the scene you see when you open it up. This is on the inside of the hardcover. So you don't even have to go to the middle of the book and find this scene. It's just there. They look thirsty. Let's give them a drink. That's right.
Yep, give them a drink. Jacob, so here's the thing that you're absolutely right about is when the hunchback would have tried to leave their ranks, like they would have a perimeter that would have been set up and would have been a productive perimeter. When he was trying to break that rank without permission, because they would know, that's when he would have gotten killed.
Okay, so he knew the trails in the hot gates because he lived there. So he knew about this old goat trail. The way he got out of camp, as far as history goes, was he would take that path and spy and then come back and report to the Spartans what they were doing because he could get further down that ravine than they could. So he would go on that path and do scouting and then come back and report. Well, that wasn't good enough for him. So he ended up taking that path, going down and selling out and selling the Spartans out because he wanted a uniform. He wanted to be a general. He wanted to be someone important, and he got his uniform.
Yeah. It just the ego and all of that. And I think this film really played this out really, really well compared to other movies. Because again, you mentioned this earlier, and they refurbished some of the props from Alexander and Troy, because this is this entire era of these films. Those films just seem like they were just so misguided and all over the map with these type of archetypes. Like their scripts were just such a mess, and some of this stuff just did not translate well to film at all. And the Hunchback story really, really did well.
The boyish, playful Achilles was wrong. They have this scene where like they wake him up and he wakes up and he's like, ugh, and he's doing the guy thing, and then he goes and fights the guy and he beats him and he's like, what? That's it? That's the only reason you called me. But then he's like playing tit for tat with his nephew or his cousin, and you're like, they're prancing around like chicks, and it didn't work. You're absolutely right, and they did the same thing with Alexander. It didn't work.
Maybe we should do a talk hard on Troy sometime and just tear into what a freaking mess. We need to have someone like Dean Krantz on with us for that, so we can have someone like him who just really is going to just help us like completely unload on what a mess that movie turned into being. So
this had nitrous oxide. This had nitrous oxide and testosterone pumping through every shot they took in this movie. There is testosterone and toxic
Adrenaline's just out of
masculinity and
control, man.
adrenaline
Oh, yeah.
throughout this entire movie. And that's how you have to make those movies. You can't go girly mode and be like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if they did this? Get off the set, you prancing fritter. Get off the set. No, we need testosterone. We need manly men doing manly things, cutting people in half and screaming, "This is Sparta." We don't need any of that other stuff. Thank you.
All right, Chris, you heard that hashtag prancing fritter. So, all right, jump ahead, Loki. Let's get it. So this is our first phase. Yes, they're thirsty. Over the cliff they go, and then we have to jump ahead to how the Persians will respond. And each sequence is a scale up. And I think this was one of my favorite moments on my rewatches. I watched it today, but I watched I lost it last week as well. Was we send in the Rhino, and we briefly drift away from Leonidas being the superstar, and we allow someone else to be. And it's done with such, it's obviously Hollywood cliche because the creature lands at his feet after he throws the spear and takes it out. But it is, I forgot about the shade. I'm sorry. You're right. I skipped the spot.
The arrows.
Yeah, because when Michael Fassbender's character is like something about, being what the light versus the dark, and it's like, okay, we'll fight in the shade. We'll fight in the shade. And then of course the shade.
Your arrows will block out the sun. Our arrows will block out the sun.
We'll fight in the shade, and they take these arrows and just it's an incredible sequence.
And they start laughing their asses off. This is the son of his first lieutenant, and he's laughing. He's like, "We'll fight in the shade." He's just like, "You crazy mad lads."
Yeah.
You absolute insane mad lads.
And they're just prepared for everything. So it wasn't like it was going to catch them by surprise. And of course, I know this seems like it's in hindsight, but I'm telling you what, in 2006, in the theater, when they stand up and all those arrows are out of their shields and they just drop the sword and just cut them off like that, that was the biggest, coolest boss move. Oh my gosh. I don't know about if you remember that moment, Loki, but
oh yeah,
when that happened in the theater, it was like, holy cow, that's incredible.
Yeah, when they stand up and they knock all those arrows off those shields.
Yeah.
I think the Rhinos later. So we got like.
Yeah, it kind of has to jump ahead a little bit. It's okay. We're running on time. We only got like 20 minutes left.
Them cleaning.
Yeah, there's also like, the aftermath. What are you going to do with all the dead bodies and how you're going to more, and then Xerxes wants to talk to him face to face. And yeah.
He puts his hands on him. And I think that Leonidas really, he's like, oh, you evil, no.
Yeah, I have to give, so this is one of those performances, like too, it's like when you see what this guy looks like in real life, Rodrigo Santoro, you're like, this is a crazy role this guy pulled off. I know they changed his voice. Obviously they changed the octave in post-production, things like that. But this guy is like the,
he's not that tall either. They make him I mean, it's like I'm towering over you,
right,
young king, and this guy's like, I think he's like 5'11".
He's tall, but he's not like a giant. Like this guy looks like he's supposed to be like 6'10" or something compared to Leonidas. But the Greeks would be shorter. But Rodrigo Santoro is like this Brazilian hot guy, and next thing you know, he's like looking like a knockoff of Yul Brynner. It's really crazy, So, let's see. Everything about this scene I really enjoyed, and just such a great metaphor of ancient times, not just the time that we're talking about or the time of the film itself, just everything about it. The way that he's being worshipped as a god, carried around on a throne, not stepping on the dirt. And then it's like, well, we got a big night ahead of us, boys. So here we go. Let's bring it. And again, you have like Lord of the Rings type stuff where you have like, creatures that are being outfitted, because to them, they've probably not ever seen a rhino, an elephant, and some of these things before. So really awesome. And then of course they face off against the Immortals.
Why are they called the Immortals? Do you bleed?
Yeah. and we're gonna test.
Oh my
that.
god, I can't believe Loki just did that. Yeah, I did.
He did. Let's see where are we at.
Oh, the rhino. The rhino. You wanted the rhino.
Oh, I just thought this was such a cool scene because it's one of those things where you just don't quite know at the first time you see this movie exactly how this is going to play out. But then, of course, you know, the chaos and the bloodshed never ever stops. Throws the spear and the rhino lands at his feet, and he doesn't even move. If you watch carefully, the cape is what moves, not him. His foot doesn't actually move. Look at that thing.
And he had animals. He had rhinos. He had elephants.
Yeah, he's
he
already
had
had
all
offensive
kinds
victories
of-
in Asia and India, so he's got all these animals outfitted with different weaponry. And instead of it being like a Leonidas moment, look, no, we get this guy. Boom.
Get the kid.
The kid's earning his keep and right in the face. And you feel like that the metaphor here, or at least what it told me today, was so the kid knew how to bring down the rhino. It wasn't the seasoned expert that's been at war 3 or 4 times. No, the kid is so well trained and knowledgeable, and it's a throwback to what happened when they were young, when Leonidas and the wolf scene. It's like, what did this kid face when he was put through those kind of challenges and things like that? I loved it. It was a great sequence.
Throw first, ask questions later.
Yeah, the camera moves down briefly, so we get the shot of the cape. You see that he doesn't actually move. It's just the way the cape moves, by the way. And it's a really, really a subtle thing. I know I'm probably overselling it in some ways, but in other ways, I think it's such a great thing that's not said about a film like this. Cause this is like, you know, the grand scheme of these other battles and things like that. This sequence is, you know, would be lower down the list of conversations. That's for sure. So going back to Alexander, Zach just says Colin Farrell is just way too good looking. And there was too many models in those 2 films. Like they were too busy trying to make the actors look good. So as a straight up action movie, it hits all the points of Last Stand. Yeah. Nas is here throwing out nicknames. Well, we got Pops Chan. All right. I'll take it. The Greeks are pizza lovers. Sure enough, Nas. We got you. Monkey Jeebus is in the house. Hey, brother. The Spartacus series. Yeah. Yeah. Spartacus was cool, but had too many manhawks. Okay. All right, let's jump ahead. Yeah, so we can go to so that's how the battles keep scaling up because we have the rhino, we get the elephant, we have the immortals, we have all these different things. During the immortals battle is what we're having here, where the one loses his son, and you start to have this.
The kid who just took down the rhino. Yeah.
Yeah. The Arcadians are like cowards now because they realize the hunchback has betrayed them. We got to skip through some of that sequence because obviously they are paying off the hunchback with more than just money. Let's just say the ladies are abound, and they're
not just ladies. There's some ladies abound. With some danglers.
Yeah. So Zack Snyder had no problem showing off the ladies in this film. That's for sure. Not just Lena Headey. Henley. We move ahead, and then we have the scene with her because she's trained to play politics at home and work out the negotiations there, which have turned kind of violent. There's the hunchback making his negotiations. That's her. And, you know, she basically gives in to the guy thinking that's how she's going to get him to vote before that kind of has to turn a little sideways too when she's confronting the Senate, the council. I think it's just called a council in this movie. And there he is. He's the scumbag. Done very well, very subtle, not a lot of craziness. I like that a lot. So, and this is the scene that you were talking about earlier, where we're getting at the end of the movie, where he tries to be physical, and gets too close, and she grabs his sword because he's lying about her, saying she's a whore and she's done this, and he was trying to accuse her of betting the other guy and all this. But when he gets stabbed, all the coins that are from the earlier sequence come out. The big payoff. So the big payoff between the priest, the oracle, him, and one of Xerxes' liaisons is what.
It's a money shot. Little dad joke.
Loki's going for the puns.
It's a money shot.
Prancing fritters.
Prancing fritters.
Prancing fritter. Yes. So now we know. Now everyone knows that this has all been staged and manipulated for power and corruption, and Leonidas and those 300 men, those 200 other 99 men, and the Arcadians were all left because of this deal. So yeah, they respond in kind now, which will become this amazing final battle that they know they can't escape from. So great dialogue that really lets them know, because this is basically the spiel at the end here is just really incredible stuff.
So he knows his days are numbered. He knows his time. Xerxes knows. Leonidas
He's got one
knows.
more plan. He's got one more plan. And he basically has this incredible sequence where he goes through, and the narration is setting this up beautifully of
The wolf.
Yeah, he knows what he's facing. And it's he drops the sword, the shield is heavy, every little piece, and then he kind of drops to his knees. And the drop to the knees is at least seemingly supposed to be a surrender. He had a quick moment when he's on his knees where he's thinking about the queen. This is gonna end badly for him. And then right as he gets just a step more, he yells out, and you have Michael Fassbender's character, Stelios. Stelios jumps on his back and leaps in the air for the attack, and cuts one guy down, and then Leonidas is going to throw the spear. So now it's a throwback to the lines we just heard about why he would lay down the sword. The shield is heavy, so we throw him off balance. He needs to aim because it's a very far target. And then one of the most important elements, not just of the film, but also of like the history and the mythos of all of this, is that the spear actually like clips his face. So, and I know he's got a show to do, so he's probably not being here very long. Daryl the Derelict stopping in. Buckaroos, greeting programs, fight for the users. All right. That's right.
What's up, Daryl?
Hey, brother. It's awesome.
There it is.
Thanks for making it. Yep. Clips his face. There's actual blood. He if it blew, we can kill it.
That's right. He hurt him. And that really pisses him off.
Now it's on like Donkey Kong, baby. And the battles are just getting away from it. Law of numbers are finally catching up with them. They've been doing this for a couple of days. So yeah. Let's see. Most of the talk is about their love of Spartacus and all that. Look at the shot. Look at the lighting. Look at just everything about this film and the way the graphic novel was adapted just really capture emotional and mood changes so well. And modern cinema just has lost all of this ability. So we didn't really touch on the fact that the narrator character, who is Delios, is David Wenham. He's a Spartan soldier who's a narrator. He does get injured. He loses an eye, and he's the one that's sent back to tell the tale before that battle. He actually is sent before that battle because they know they're not going to survive that battle. And he now becomes the leader of their army. You can see him giving the speech. He's been sharing the story. He's motivating everyone, all the power, all the different things of the legacy, and motivating an army like this. It's great. So
imagine if Davy Crockett got injured in the Alamo and they sent him to go find Sam Houston, and he survived. Imagine what he would be like to all the troops, to everyone that was fighting for Texas independence. Yeah. He would have been the icon of icons, because he's the one guy that made it. And he didn't do it because he was scared. He didn't run. He was ordered by his superior officer to go back and get help and to tell them what happened. Go tell them what happened and be ready. You're injured. Can't use you. Go. Now.
We can wrap there. I think that pretty much gives everybody a good taste of everything. Oh, I wanted to say one thing before, in case he has to drop. On Daryl's show tonight, on the Vac Tube, Loki, Daryl is taking the Padawannabe challenge.
Oh, dude, no.
He got the cards on our live stream giveaway. So he got the cards from, I think it's the 89 Batman card. So he's going to at least open one pack and chew that gum on the air. So yeah.
That gum is what, 25 years old?
30,
think about that.
35.
35 years old. Think about that, Daryl. Think about it. And right now he's going, man, that ain't nothing. I drink whiskey older than that, dude.
Yeah.
That's like pop rock gum. We
Yeah, man,
already
that's
heard from Padawannabe how dead that gum was. It's kind of like rotten pop rocks. No, dude.
I need to upload the clips of me when I chewed the gum and when Ironcaster did. So we have all 3 clips in here we can play. But yeah,
you can't add enough moisture to that stuff to make it gum again. Not even all of the saliva. It's just not gonna happen.
Okay, so Gates of Fire comes to mind. So I think Angry Canadian, Michael Mann wanted to do an adaptation of Gates of Fire, and just kind of moved along faster. Like they were able to get this through. So yeah, it is. It's one of those things that has been in the works, and it's probably Gates of Fire by Michael Mann is probably one of the best films that never got made because of this film. It kind of squats like, well, what are we going to do now? How are you going to top this? Like, I don't think anyone wants to really kind of get into that anytime soon. And we don't have writers that can do this. Like, obviously they adapted Miller's work, but they just don't have the skills. I just don't see it. They don't make films like this either. Like, I don't mean that like the style. I was like, this is only like 60 days of shooting. This didn't involve like, 2 more months of reshoots and all this extra money and also no. They went in, they had their plan, they did their thing. A ton of it is in post-production, right? It's a lot of like subtle CGI stuff built around practical, which is why it feels so real, is you use real stuff there. Like there's a great meme going around where it's Ant-Man on one side and the Batman on the other. Like or hate either movie, it doesn't matter. The point of the meme is this one's shot in the volume where it's all CGI. This one has CGI in the background, but they have pillars and stuff in all the foregrounds, so it feels very real. That's the difference. This movie feels like you're so immersed in it, even though so much of this is fake and pretend, because it's just real props, real costuming, real things. Great cast. So. Yeah. So where does is it literally like one of the top 10? Is it at the top of when you get the new system all hooked up in the new place?
Oh yeah. It may even be the first movie I watch. I don't know. I've got the projector, so the 4K projector is here. I've got the projector. I've got to get the screen still. It's a 200-inch screen. But yeah, it's definitely surround sound, all Bluetooth speakers. So yeah, I mean, I'm psyched. I can't wait. I was trying to
figure out if I can guess what else is in the top 5, and I know Wrath of Khan would be.
Oh yeah, the director's cut of Star Trek 2.
Yeah, yes. So that would be one. And
Aliens.
Aliens. I was trying to figure out, does The Thing or Big Trouble make the list in the top 5?
Yes, I'll just say that.
Yes. Yeah. See, we have this back and forth for those of you at home about which is a better film, which is the better. Yeah, we just say yes because both are amazing. So listen, so Nas is like, what about Porky's too? What is it? Nas is bringing it always. So awesome. So no, man, I wish Ironcaster had been able to make it because I would have loved to have his little input and insight as well on a film that. I mean, listen, you can go to Zach's channel, you can go over to MVP. Many other some of these creators that you guys have been here tonight, you guys use clips from this, you use the sounds, you use references. I mean, there's just this film's legacy is sort of bigger than the film itself in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but that's kind of that was my take on doing this film. Was like, man, I think it's the anniversary, and it was a huge March film. By the way, this film was not supposed to make a ton of money. They thought they could just get. I mean, they wouldn't make a profit, obviously, but they did not expect to make over a couple hundred million, which back then was a blockbuster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because it didn't cost. Movies cost a lot less to make then.
Yeah. So. I mean, I remember when this opened and it was like, whoa, this movie is a gangbuster. And I kept telling everybody, this movie's freaking, that's a blast. It is.
I saw this 5 times. I saw it. That's how impressed I was. I went back and saw it. I went back and saw it 2 more times with my dad. And he doesn't do shit like that. I can count on one hand how many movies. Stargate, the original Stargate was one, Jurassic Park, and this movie. And that's it. So 3 movies. In the entire time we were always going to the theater to see movies together, he went back and saw a movie more than once. So,
well, Jacob, we should. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, so let's see. So we have some fun things to look forward to and talk about. Talk hard. Obviously, make sure you stay tuned with that. I appreciate anybody that can be with us next week. Maybe even try to do a giveaway or something. I'll try to throw together some ideas and some stuff laying around. Maybe we could do something just to celebrate 1 year of me just not doing all the other stuff as much. I won't say I won't do anything because I do have my finger in a few of those pots, but not like I used to. It's all pops first and foremost. Which, by the way, this coming weekend is the Oscars. And for those of you who don't know, the RR people are out of control because they got a chance for people to talk about their movie. So I have a video that's gone bonkers again. I have no idea why it's so special to them, but they love people that will pay attention to their movies. So to any of you that are in that group, hail to you. I appreciate it very much. I do enjoy watching some of their movies. So, yeah, we're doing They Live soon. We're going to do that one. And then we're going to discuss something for Easter. So you guys in chat have suggestions. Feel free to leave comments. Let us know. We're going to try to decide on maybe a film to do the week right before Easter. Those kinds of things are what's coming up next on Talk Hard. So normal week for you, brother?
normal week for me. We're going to do YouTube talk tomorrow. That should be interesting because I'm probably going to piss a handful of people off. We're talking about being honest and not sticking your nose up someone's backside for clout. Perpetuating bullshit and rumors for clout just so you can get other people's attention. So it should be interesting.
Clout. I just love the fact that there is like YouTube clout. It's just a weird thing to me because the rest of the world doesn't care like at all. Like I know that maybe there's like kids that do, but yeah, whatever. So I don't have a 300 outtake. I don't have a little video for 300. I probably should just make one just because it would be cool. But you know, there's that. So with that, since we talked about it and since Daryl's going to do it soon, let's do Pat to be on our way out the door. Hail to him. He was the first one to throw down the classic wax pack chewing gum. This was from a pack of Return of the Jedi trading cards. And yeah, he surprised us by doing this. So with that, you guys take care. Be blessed. Talk hard. And we'll see you next time. Okay.
Okay. So I stacked all the pieces here. We're gonna.
Oh, he went for the hardcore.
Nope.
I wish I could see Loki's face. Padawannabe is the boss.
You're the boss, brother.
You're the boss. We're clipping this. This will be a new clip.
It's like dusty pop rocks with no pop.
Pop rocks with no pop. Holy cow.
There's no way that's gum anymore.
It's just no taste at all.
There's no. It still tasted like chewing gum, but there's.
No, dude, you're a soldier, brother.
It just turns to dust. There's no.
All I can say to that is,
ooh-ah.